Before you begin painting, please make sure that you only have 2 pieces of paper out in front of you, the mixing sheet and your final color wheel. Also, make sure that your design has been approved by me before you move on to painting. Make sure that you have all 12 sections outlined and that you have every section labeled in correct color order. Today we will begin to paint our color wheel. You should only have 2 sheets of paper in front of you, your color wheel, and your mixing sheet. You can have 2 paintbrushes, a larger one for larger spots and a smaller one for smaller spots. We will only be working with the colors from yellow to red. The very first color that we will work with would be the lightest color of our color wheel, which is yellow. We will then continue on and make every color that yellow and red create. Yellow, orange, orange, red, orange, and then finish off with red. This will then break up our color wheel into thirds. I'm going to start off with a smaller paintbrush because this section right here has smaller shapes and smaller areas. As you can see, I already painted the tint, the hue, and the shade of yellow, yellow-orange, and orange. The very first color that I want to put on my mixing sheet is yellow because it is the lightest color that I will be working with. Please note that there is a mathematical equation for every single color that you will be creating today. Y plus R, which equals red-orange. Or yellow plus red, which equals yellow-orange. This tells us that there are more red globs than yellow globs. We want to start off with yellow first. Please make sure that you have blotted your brush off so there's not a lot of water on the bristles. Make sure that whenever you take the yellow from the paper plate that you are not globbing it on so much that it gets onto the base of the bristles or on the ferrule. We're only going to be using the tip of our bristles whenever we paint. I want to make sure that I have enough paint to then transfer to my tint and my shade. So I'm going to grab and glob a lot. I'm going to rinse out my paintbrush so I don't contaminate my red. I'm going to blot it off on my paper towel, and then I'm going to take just a little bit of red to start with because red is a darker color, so that means it is more powerful than yellow. Going to mix my red into my yellow. Remember, you need a lot of paint here. You're transferring. The point of your mixing sheet is to mix the color so you can transfer it to your final color wheel. And also, please remember, there is a sample color wheel for you. This is how I'm grading your color wheel. So make sure that you compare all the colors that you create to the sample color wheel. I compare this to the red-orange that's on my sample. I notice that I'm going to need more red. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to rinse off my brush so I don't contaminate the red, blot it off on my paper towel, and then get a little bit more red. Remember, red is a powerful color because it's darker than yellow. Please keep your mixing sheet nice and neat. Keep the colors separated. You don't want to contaminate your colors by accidentally mixing them with another color beside it. I'm going to compare my color. It is correct. So now I'm going to make sure that I have a nice even layer on my bristles. I'm only keeping the paint at the tip of my bristles because that's the only thing that's touching my paper on my color wheel. I'm going to paint the hue in the correct area. Please make sure that you try your best to stay inside of the lines. I'm not using my paintbrush like a crayon, so I'm not scribbling back and forth with it. I'm going in one nice smooth direction, making sure that I'm holding it like a pencil. I'm not holding it all the way up here. I'm not holding it like this. Once I have my hue in the designated area completed, I'm going to rinse out my brush. And then we're going to start working on our tint. I want to blot off the water on my paintbrush. White is a lighter color than the red-orange. So I'm going to place the white on my tint box before I would transfer the red-orange to the white. I'm going to then rinse off my brush so I don't contaminate my red-orange, blot it off on my paper towel, and then I'm going to transfer just a little bit of this red-orange over to the white. You always add the darker color to the lighter color, and you don't have to add a lot of it because that darker color is more powerful. Stay nice and neat with your mixing sheet. Get a nice even color, an even amount of paint on your bristles, and then you can move on to the tint. Try your best to stay inside of the lines. You need a nice, even, unsplotchy color. When you're done with the tint, rinse off your brush, blot it off on your paper towel, and then transfer the rest of your red-orange to the shade area. This is why you need a lot of color. This is why you need a lot of paint. Please make sure you're not using a lot of water. If you run out of this color, you cannot use water to make the paint go farther. It's going to dilute the paint, and then you're not going to get that nice vibrant color that you are looking for. After you transfer the red-orange over to the shade box, please rinse your brush out so you don't contaminate the black. Blot it off on the paper towel and get just a little bit of black. Black is the darkest color, so it's the most powerful. Mix your shade. Again, if you run out of color, you cannot use water to make that paint last longer. After I mixed my shade, now I can place it in the shade area. Please make sure that you are going in one smooth direction. You can move your paper around as needed to help you paint. If your paint looks dry as you are placing it on your paper, that means you do not have enough paint on your brush. So constantly go back to get more paint. If you have too much paint on your brush, it'll look globby and uneven. You need a nice happy medium. Again, you're not using your brush like a crayon. Trying to stay inside of the lines, making a nice, even, unsplotchy color. Once you're finished with your shade, you can rinse your brush and move on to the next color. Again, today we're only working with yellow, then yellow-orange, orange, red-orange, and then red. Please make sure that once you make your color, you transfer it over to your color wheel. So you make your hue first, transfer it to the color wheel. Then you make your tint, transfer it to the color wheel. Then you make your shade, transfer it to the color wheel. You do not want to make all three first and then paint your final color wheel, because then you run the risk of your paint drying before you can actually paint your color wheel.